Okay, so today we start with the
Okay,
second chapter of
ma'am.
third module. Okay, so here we will learn about the service transition phases. Okay, in the ITIR service life cycle. Um, the basic objectives will be to at the end of the chapter you'll be able to explain what service asset and configuration management process is and its importance in from legal and financial aspects, then elaborate the configuration identification and configuration management system, also describe what configuration control is and its need for authorized change, and lastly knowledge management service system. So we start with the service asset configuration management process, its importance from legal and financial aspects. So you see, in the previous chapter, we understood the basics of service transition phase of the ITIL life cycle and its two important processes, mainly the change management process and the release and deployment management process. Okay, so here we will learn about the other processes which are associated with the service transition stage of the ITIL cycle. Okay, so they are basically the service asset and configuration management and the knowledge management. Okay, so the deployment of the service assets and its management is significant from the financial and legal aspects. The service asset and configuration management allows the information technology management to control the IT assets and the items, and the IT service management processes um, get an access to the verified and up-to-date information on the IT infrastructure and service asset status. Okay, so the CMS stores the information on this data. So as given here, successful service delivery demands a significant number of assets of various types, such as network equipment, computers, etc. Various artifacts generated during service management are needed for successful administration and delivery of the services. The various artifacts can be the SLA policies and the service catalog, and such assets are referred to as the configuration items or CI by the ITIL. So, you know, to maintain the uh, to maintain the accuracy of information related to configuration items or CIs, configuration management database, which we also call the CMDBs, they are created by the uh, service assets and configuration management. Okay, and some of the configuration items are like relationships with other configuration items or CIs, then current state, ownership, etc. Okay, so to give an accurate CMDB, okay, so I'll basically term configuration management database as a CMDB, and service assets and configuration management as SSCM. Okay, so to give an accurate CMDB, the SSCM relies on the change management to make sure that the changes made are authorized and are recorded correctly. Next, we come to the configuration management system components. Okay, so it basically, the CMS basically involves so this CMS is basically maintained by the SSCM, which is Service Asset and Configuration Management. It involves these four layers, as you can see. Okay, knowledge processing layer, data layer, integration layer, and presentation layer. So talking about the uh, integration layer, okay, it comprises the tools that are used to integrate the data layer items. Okay, then next, talking about the presentation layer, it includes the tools that give a customized database view. Next, we come to the data layer. It comprises the CMDB and its associated databases such as request database, problem database, and so on. And then lastly, we have the knowledge processing layer. It includes the tools that help to model, analyze, and report the integrated database contents. Okay, so therefore, the SSCM process maintains and controls the assets that are needed to effectively deliver the services. It also provides the information on the availability of the assets and relationship between the various assets. Okay, so next we come to the objectives of service asset and configuration management. So the main objectives are to provide reliable information on the configurations and their documentation to assist all the other service management processes. Second is an account for all the IT assets and configurations and its services within the business. Thirdly, to verify the configuration records corresponding to the infrastructure and correct any expectations. Fourth, we to provide a fair basis for problem management, incident management, release management, and change management. Next is account for protecting and managing the integrity of the service assets and configuration items during the life cycle. To plan, control, identify, report, record, verify, and audit the service assets and configuration items. To provide reliable information to assist the business and service management. And lastly, to secure the integrity of those items by creating and maintaining an accurate CMS as part of the SKMS, Service Knowledge Management System. So, in short, the SSCM process improves the services as well as the business by making sure that the assets are properly managed and controlled and making them available, okay, whenever required by the IT service. And the service asset and configuration management is helpful to organization, okay, in several other ways. Okay, so here we'll study in the next session slide here. Okay, the value, how it adds value to an organization. Okay, so this is about the value of the organization of service asset and configuration management. So the service asset and um, configuration management provide clarity on the accurate representations of a service environment or release that allows the changes and releases to be assessed, planned, and delivered successfully. Better forecasting and planning of the changes, service levels and warranties to be provided, the incidents and problems to be fixed within the service level targets, greater adherence to legal standards and regulatory obligations, and changes to the identifiable from the to be identifiable from the requirements. So thus, the service asset and configuration management helps to provide better cost management, effective resolution of the incidents, then improvising planning of the services, and some improvised delivery of the changes. So these benefits are achieved by certain process and activities involved in the process. Okay. So in this section, we will try to understand what are the various activities of the service asset and configuration management. Okay. So below are the few activities that are involved in the service asset and configuration management process, namely the management and planning. Okay, so starting with management and planning. So here the configuration management and management team should decide the level of configuration management that is essential for the selected service or project that is delivering variations and the ways to reach this level. So configuration management plan should be documented properly, and there is a frequent configuration management plan for a service, groups of services or project, for example the network services. So these plans define the particular configuration management activities inside the SSCM strategy. Next we have the configuration identification. So you see, for a better planning of the configuration identification, it is important to consider certain criterias, like three criterias basically, like uh, firstly defining the method for an identification, unique naming and classification of all the assets and service components of interest through the service life cycle and relationships among them. Secondly, defining the methods to select the various types of assets and configuration items grouped, classified, and then defined by some suitable characteristics to ensure that they are manageable and traceable throughout the life cycle. Thirdly, defining the roles and responsibilities of the custodian or the owner for the configuration item type at every stage of its life cycle. For example, the service owner for a service package or release at every stage of the service life cycle. So next is we have naming configuration items. So here you see naming agreements. Okay, the naming agreements should be established and applied to the identification of all the CIs. Okay, so individual CIs should be exclusively identifiable by means of the identifier and the version. So the naming agreement should be exclusive and take into account the standing corporate or supplier numbering or naming structures. And the naming agreement should include management of relationships between the CIs and changes, relationships between CIs, problems, incidents, and known errors, relationships between the CIs and the associated documents, and so on. Okay. Next, we have labeling configuration items. So here, all the physical device CI should be named with the configuration identifier so that they can be simply identified. Plans should be made to name the CIs and to maintain the correctness of their labels. Items need to be notable by unique, durable identification. A standard policy on labeling hardware is helpful for the users or service desk. For example, if all hardware is named in the bottom left hand corner, suppose, and then it is much faster and easier to explain to the user where they will find the essential informations. Then we have attributes for the configuration item. So attributes, you know, this describes the features of a CI that are important to record and support the service asset and configuration management. Okay, so mainly the typical attributes include unique identifier, name or description. Then you have location, the CI type, supply date, version, for example, the file or release date, okay, or the baseline. Then license details, including the expiry date, status, owner or custodian, supplier or source, related documents, relationship type, historical data like the audits and so on. Lastly, we have the relationship type. So it describes how the configuration items work together to provide the services. Okay, and these relationships are formed in the CMS, which also underline the major difference between what is recorded in the CMS and what is in the asset register. So for example, a CI is connected to another CI, then CI is a part of another CI is installed on another, or the CI uses another CI. Next is the SSCM process and relationship map. So here so see it's the relationship map of the SSCM. Okay, so it's described here, okay, in this table. So as you can see, the incident management. So incident management uses the CI information to understand what the CIs are involved in an incident. Okay. Next, we have the problem management. It uses CI information to help track down the root cause of a problem. Okay. Next, we have, so this is the database. Okay, this is a database. So it assists with root cause analysis. Then we have the release management process, which is It updates the configuration management system with information about deployed releases. Okay, assets in lowering risk to production. And lastly, we have the change management process. So it uses the CI information to understand the ramifications of a proposed system. Okay, so as you can see here, it aids in lowering risk by understanding the impact of change and ensure correct staff approval. Okay, and then this CASM process uses the change management process. Okay, which brings about changes to the CMDB are under change control, and production changes are reflected in the CMDB. Okay. Okay. So next we come to configuration identification. So see, what it is: configuration identification and configuration control. These are the two sub processes of the ITIL configuration management. Okay, so basically we'll look at the configuration control in the next section. So this is for configuration identification. So it is the selection, unique identification, description and labeling of assembly and component configuration items and the relationships between them. Okay, so the main objective of the configuration identification is that it defines and maintains the configuration management system and also holds the information about the configuration items. Okay, and while planning for the configuration identification, it is necessary to define the approach to identify, label, and name the assets across the life cycle, define how the types and classes of configuration items and assets are to be selected and further group them. It is also used to define the physical and functional characteristics of the configuration items. So for planning the configuration identification, it is necessary to define how the categories of assets and configuration items are to be selected or chosen, grouped and classified. Define the methods for identification, naming, as well as labeling of all the service components or the assets of interest across the service lifecycle and the relationships among them. Define the roles plus responsibilities of the custodian, okay, or the owner for configuration item type at every stage of its life cycle. So also there are a few activities, okay, which I'll just pick up here. There are some few activities in the configuration identification process, like defining and documenting the conditions for choosing configuration items and components that combine them, then choosing the configuration items and components that comprise them based on some documented criteria, allocate exclusive identifiers to configuration items, specify the release attributes of every configuration item, then specify when every configuration item is, they are where they are placed under the configuration management, and also identify the owner responsible for every configuration item. Next we come to the configuration control and need for authorized change. Okay, so see, basically configuration control is concerned with reviewing the modifications or the variations to the CMS. Okay, also to ensure the information stored in the CMS is complete, besides the modification was done by any authorized party. Okay, further processes also support the objectives of the configuration control. So in configuration control guarantees there are suitable control mechanisms over the configuration items while maintaining a record of changes to the CIs, location, versions and the ownership. Okay, And the configuration control ensures that there are sufficient control mechanisms over the configuration items. So there will be a mismatch with the physical world if there is no control over the configuration data, components, and the assets. All the configuration items must be modified, removed, added, or replaced only with a proper procedure or documentation. Next, we have some procedures and policies that needs to be produced. Okay, for license control, to confirm the exact number of people who are using the licenses and that there is no license remaining unused and wasted. Next, we have version control of service asset, hardware and software versions, images or builds and releases. Access control, for example, to facilities, storage areas, and CMS. Bill control, containing the use of bill uh, specifications from the CMS to to perform a bill. Migration of electronic data and information and promotion. Taking a configuration baseline of CIs or assets before performing a release in a way that can be used for succeeding checking beside actual deployment controls with distribution, installation, and maintaining the integrity of the DML. So frequently there are several procedures that can change a configuration item, and there should be, these all this should be properly studied and aligned with the configuration item types in order to prevent the errors. Okay, and during the planning stage it is very important to design an effective configuration control model. And implementation of this model helps the staff to trace and use the related training products as well as the procedures in the right way.